Good morning, American viewers. Good evening, Indian viewers. Good day for viewers from around the world. I am Ramesh Rao, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's presentation, this webinar session that is going to be conducted by Ramsundar Lakshminarayanan. I'm Ramesh Rao. I'm the editor of India Facts. And for those of you who have not yet visited India Facts, it is a platform devoted right now solely to publishing articles, analysis, commentaries on Hinduphobia. People may wonder why and whether that is not a limited view or a goal for a platform like that. And we believe that the platform needed to focus on Hinduphobia because there is so much of it, and because there has been so little coverage of it, and so little acknowledgement of it. So today's presentation, in fact, adds in I would say almost a profound way, at least technically, technologically, in our ability to track, monitor, analyze Hinduphobia online. Why online? It's simply because it seems the majority of the world now live online. We carry our lives on our mobile phones, and that therefore is a platform that has been very much used for both good and very much abused to spread hate. So the other role that I have, I am a professor of communication studies at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia. And as part of my work, I also do monitor mass media. We analyze, in our mass communication courses, we talk about these matters. And so today, for me, it is a confluence of my kind of primary day job interest in mass media, which includes, of course, social media, and the other hat that I wear as editor of India Facts and how we monitor Hinduphobia, to introduce today our speaker. But before I introduce him, I would like to introduce my fellow panelist and moderator, Dr. Nidhi Shandurnikar from MS University in Baroda, who is going to help me with moderating today's session. She is going to be monitoring the Q&A box. So please, if you have any questions, and I do hope that you will have a lot of questions for our presenter today, Dr. Shandurnikar will be monitoring and collating the questions, and she will be at the end of Ramsundarji's presentation, use your questions and post them to him. However, if there are any follow-up questions, we will also, as panelists, be able to unmute individual viewers so that you can ask questions of Ramsundarji. So, who is Ramsundarji? It is my pleasure to, both as a friend of his, acquaintance of his initially, and now a kind of a fellow traveler, because he's also part of the Indic Academy, that wonderful network of people and experts and commentators who have gathered under a kind of a virtual umbrella. But Ramsundar, in terms of his day job, in terms of the hat that he wears, is an IT expert with more than 25 years of experience. So he knows what he is doing and what he's going and what he's talking about. And so the kind of technical expertise that he has acquired and that he has brought to bear upon this new technology, which is the first of its kind, really the first of its kind in terms of our ability to monitor Hindu phobia online. There is no such tool or app available elsewhere. And we don't believe that there has been such an attempt. And therefore, it is a real privilege and a pleasure to introduce him. And finally, before I have Ramsundar begin his presentation, I just want to make sure that if you do have questions and if you think it's really urgent, please wait till the end of the presentation. The presentation may take about 35 to 40 minutes, at most 45 minutes. So we will have enough time for your questions. With that, once again, welcome to all of you. And it is my pleasure to have our speaker, Ramsundar Lakshminarayanan, present to us his fantastic tool to monitor Hindu phobia right now on Twitter. Sundar.
Thank you, Professor Rao and Professor Nidhi. Thanks for this opportunity. Let me get started. I'm going to have to share my screen. I have a deck to share. I will just give me a moment. I'll get situated. Let me know when you see my screen.
Yes, we can see now.
Yes, we can see it.
My screen, right? Okay. Let me settle that. Okay. All right. Yeah. Once again, thanks, Professor Rao and Professor Nidhi. Thanks for this opportunity. Welcome, folks. Those who have dialed in, thanks for dialing in. Wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Thank you so much for joining in. Let me get started. I expect this to take roughly about 40 to 45 minutes of presentation. I have a deck that I prepared. I'm going to review that with you all. Okay. All right. Let me get started. See, hindumisia.ai, is a tool to counter anti-Hindu hate, leveraging the disciplines of artificial intelligence and natural language processing techniques. It will detect and visualize anti-Hindu hate. That's basically what the tool is all about. I have an interesting story to share, how it all began. See, the genesis of it begins with Mr. Mani Shankar Iyer and this disparaging remark about Modi's social status, as a child tea vendor back in 2014, leading up to the 2014 elections. He was very negative. He was condescending, I thought, with his comments about Modi, quite vicious as well, even in other times. The comment certainly caught my attention. I wanted to analyze his thoughts. So what I did was I took about 150 of his articles that appeared on ndtv.com. I ran through an analytic model of those times. It was a little bit basic approach at that time, quantified and visualized his speech. It's actually out there online as well. Not in this website, but in a different place. As part of that analytic model, I was able to determine, the kind of emotions and sentiments he exhibits. No doubt it was extremely negative, actually. It was quite revealing for me, actually, I was surprised as to how one can harbor toxic hate against one individual. So that exercise kind of provoked me into doing something different. One thing led to another, and then I ended up picking up this topic for execution. There are many entities, many individuals countering anti-Hindu hate today. There are a few advocacy groups that do grassroots work. Many people do write on Indic and dharmic platforms. India Facts is one of the premier platforms where things about anti-Hindu hate is actually written. There are a few others as well. There are many webinars, many podcasts to deal with this menace. I looked around to see, what value I could add. I wanted to do something different that will complement all these existing efforts. I dug deeper within myself, leveraged my own core competency, my own corporate background in implementing a performance management solution. So anti-Hindu hate, right, presents a very clear danger to Hindu communities throughout the world. I hit upon this idea of tracking anti-Hindu hate online, especially in Twitter. It was all brought to life by a cricket buddy of mine here in Chicago. I live in Chicago. A cricket buddy of mine who helped me bring this to life. We both go a long way back. He helped me bring this life. There are only two of us actually supporting the entire tool. Most of it is automated, so we don't do a lot of manual work. Two of us handling this tool. This tool was launched about 4 months ago, March of 2022. And I'm here to I'll walk you through some of the features of this tool, as well as some potential users and the benefits of it. As an IT professional, I've implemented a number of analytic solutions. That's actually my core competency and expertise. Performance management, being one of them. The focus of such solutions usually is to provide the corporate leadership a quantifiable way of measuring performance against certain goals. You have different areas of corporate functions like sales, operations, marketing, finance. They have their own targets and goals, and they measure their performance on an ongoing basis. The tool that they use or the vehicle that they use to measure such performance is actually called a scorecard. So as I was evaluating the concept of an anti-Hindu hate tool, I thought I had some questions, come up. I was grappling with some questions. Why can't I measure anti-Hindu hate? Why can't it be a scorecard? Why can't I do it in real time? So I started answering these questions, and that's how the whole scorecard came into existence. It's a performance management tool. I would like to position it as a performance management tool to help direct and focus our efforts at curbing anti-Hindu hate. We should not merely write about it or just talk about it online. We should start acting. So I want this tool to help direct and focus our collective efforts at curbing anti-Hindu hate. An analytical approach to countering anti-Hindu hate. That's how it got started. There are many advocacy groups, as I said, who use such metrics. They can use such metrics for their grassroots advocacy. It will only complement their efforts. That's how the whole thing started. What I'm going to do now next is basically launch the tool. I'm going to have to stop sharing mine and then go to my website and start sharing again. 1 second. Just give me a moment. Okay. I hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Here you go. Yeah. What this tool is all about? It's a score. The tool. It's a scorecard. It's in the banner actually. It has 3 important sections. It tracks hate. The first section where it tracks hate on a daily basis. So it gives you some daily real-time 24/7 statistics, as you can see actually. It tracks it on a daily basis, and then it actually plots it on a 24-hour time clock, which is based on UTC time, which I think is GMT time actually. So it gives you an average intensity as of that point in time. It's kind of real time. If you keep refreshing, the numbers will actually change. I did it about, I think I kept it ready for the seminar, so that's why the numbers are probably slightly older. So it will give you the number of anti-Hindu handles flagged by the machine at that point of time, as also a number of anti-Hindu tweets that are flagged by the machine at that point of time. These numbers are then plotted over a period of over a 24-hour clock, beginning with which is a UTC clock, which is kind of global from now, right? So, and then we break down the hate into multiple intensities actually. So highest being toxic, the middle one being severe, the lowest being moderate. So it just plots. So every hour it keeps changing, it keeps adding. Once 24-hour clock is over, the next day starts. So that's how it actually works. So this is section where you can collect daily statistics. And then you also have a filter where you can go and check back historic trends as well for the previous months. You can do that. Okay. Come down, scroll down to the next section. It's somewhat similar, but kind of aggregates statistics on a daily basis and plots it on a monthly graph here, actually. So this is the month of July. You have 31 days in July, so the data is plotted on a daily basis. So every day, once a 24-hour clock ends, a new day starts, this gets updated, actually. So as you can see, this is over a 31-day period for the month of July. You can go back to other periods as well. We started in March, so you'll have data from March, actually. March, April, June, and July, actually. You only see your 2022 because this wasn't around last year, actually. That's why you only see your 2023. So this is the daily plotting over a 31-day period. Here, this is an aggregate based on intensity, actually. So what this graph tells me right now is there are 33,779 tweets flagged by the model as of the time when this website was refreshed. 70.8% of it is kind of flagged as toxic. 24.1% is kind of flagged as moderate. Severe. 5.1% is kind of flagged as moderate, actually. And then you just hover over it, you'll get the number of tweets in there. This is what it is. This is how we launched about 4 months ago. Recently, about a month ago, we enhanced this tool to allow end users to submit tweets to the AI engine. So that's the tweet submission section, where all you have to do is you go to, let's say you go to a website, you copy a Twitter URL, any URL, just copy it. This should be the format of a URL. Typically, it has a tweet ID there. Actually, you just come and you just come and paste it over here, and then you send it for analysis. You can submit the tweets to the AI engine for checking what the anti-Hindu incentive is. Once submitted, what happens is tweet will be sent to the AI engine for processing. Most likely, we would probably have that tweet already. Our engine probably would have captured it already, in which case, if it's already there, if it's processed through the engine, it will show you what that hate intensity is. If not, it will store those submitted tweets, and then engine will process it. And tweets that are submitted, that are processed by the engine, are listed below. You will see them below here, actually. So this is a way for end users to get involved in the system, start submitting tweets to our engine. About a week or two ago, posted in our social media that we would certainly like help in collecting tweets from a year before or earlier, actually, because we launched this tool only this year. So we don't have tweets from the last year, actually. So it's a request again. I'm using this opportunity to request our listeners and the audience to see, if you have tweets from the year before, from earlier years, I should say, actually, then you should be able to submit them here. It will certainly help us collect those tweets for our own research purposes. So this is basically what the third section is. So we have 3 sections. The last one, it's quite informative in the sense, a lot of people have questions about what you do, how do you do, so on and so forth, about the AI model, right? So there are a lot of sections here about what we do, about what are the benefits of it, the kind of collaborations that we are interested in, what are some of the anti-Hindu references, who are our partners. We partner with the online portal called My Makers. So they were glad to support publishing our monthly report. So we started doing it about 2 months ago. They've been doing it for about 2 months. We intend to add more partners as well in the coming months. Discussions are going on. And the monthly reports that we prepare monthly reports at the end of a month. I actually spend time reviewing the data set, prepare certain monthly reports. We publish them here. If you click on it, you will see monthly reports from March onwards. These are PDF reports. You can download and use them actually for your own reference purposes. If you go to a webinar, if you go to a TV show, panelist, you're more than welcome to download these reports and then use it for your own talking points. And then important thing about AI, when it comes to AI, right? Ethical aspects of AI has a lot of media attention. So we have our commitment and statement on AI. We have written about it here, as well as what we do with the data that we collect in terms of our privacy. Basically, we don't collect any personal information. There's no registration requirements needed. All that we do is read a tweet and use the tweet text to determine whether it's anti-Hindu or not. That's all to it is actually. There's nothing else to it. Actually. Okay? This is basically what our website is. If you want to get in touch with us, if you have a feedback to share or whatnot, or if you have any questions, you can connect to us through our social media handles. It's Twitter and Instagram. Even though we have a page in Facebook, I'm not very active on FB as far as this tool is concerned, but relatively active on Instagram and Twitter. You can certainly connect with us or send out an email. We'll certainly respond to it when we get to it, typically over a weekend. Actually, we all have day jobs. We won't be able to respond to you immediately, but weekends are the time that we spend time reviewing some of the requests that we get, the data sets that we collect. So we should be able to respond to you at that time. Having said that, that's basically what the tool is all about. So we basically track anti-Hindu hate on real time. We collect tweets. So it's been about 4 months so far. Roughly, we collect about 50 to 60K tweets every month. So we have probably collected close to 230 to 250 tweets since the launch, actually, which is good. Which is good for us because there are no data sets available for anti-Hindu hate. So one of the things that we see here is to be able to create a data set for future dharmic business technologies to use. So that's one of our goals, is to collect and build a nice anti-Hindu data set that I can share for our own purposes. Okay. I want to go back to our deck for 1 second. So I'm going to stop sharing. Let me get situated with my deck again, and I'll be back sharing my presentation. Thank you. Do you see my presentation again? Can you confirm?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. All right. So let me move on to my next deck. How does it all work? A lot of people have been curious. I keep getting questions about how does this work? What do you do? What kind of tweets do you scan for? So on and so forth. So I thought I would take this opportunity to explain what kind of happens here. It's actually pretty simple. We scan Twitter live for tweets, and we select a random sample of tweets based on topics. Why random sample? Look, there are 500 million tweets logged every day. I'm not running a data center. I don't have a supercomputer at home. So we don't scan the entire Twitter world. It's just impossible as an individual or as a small organization to scan the whole thing. So we scan for some, and then we use our educated logic, if you will. We are all dharmics. We are all Hindus practicing Hindu. We know what Hindu hate is. So we have figured out a lexicon that we can use just to initially filter. It's a broad-based filter so that we only sample tweets based on certain topics. Those tweets are selected. It's run through an AI model to determine whether it's anti-Hindu or not. This AI model is not public. It's actually a proprietary model that we have built based on lexicon, so on and so forth. But I do want to offer some clarification. The model that we have built is not based on word vector. Word vector is old school thinking, old school technology, has its own pros and cons to it, a lot of cons. There are a lot more advanced techniques available under the umbrella of natural language processing today. So we use a lot more advanced techniques than just word vector based action. So based on a proprietary lexicon developed, we flag the tweet as anti-Hindu or not. Based on certain statistics available within the model, we determine the hate intensity of a tweet. So those statistics, if it's high, if it tells you high, then we say it's toxic. If not, it's moderate. if it's severe or if it's low, kind of it's moderate. That's how we actually flag the intensity. So once we do it, we just use standard visualization techniques to quantify and visualize it. This is what you see on the website. All of the above, it's important to know, all of the above is done in an automated fashion. There is no manual involvement on a day-to-day basis. Neither of us actually have time. There are some times when I don't even look into the tool actually on a daily basis. We're just busy with other commitments, but we go through it. Okay. On this aspect, I do want to drill down a bit more because I've been asked questions about AI models, so on and so forth. It's quite puzzling for many because this is the first solution of its kind. I think this is the first solution of its kind. Although there were one or two organizations like Anti-Defamation League, they implemented something similar for detecting anti-Jewish hate. Although they have not published it like what we do visually on a real-time basis, they did it offline. They probably used some models from 2, 3, 4 years back. What I benefited from the maturity of NLP growth in the last few years. So I probably leveraged a lot more advanced AI modeling and techniques, and I benefited from it actually. Okay. On this aspect, let me just drill down a bit more about what this model is all about. Look, when you talk about AI and ML, right, what does it do? It's actually the discipline of learning from the past using some historical data set to predict future outcomes. So when a tweet is given today, what model does is it has learned from the past that a certain sentence comprises of certain sentiments, emotions, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then it classifies it as either being good sentiment or bad sentiment, or depending upon how it's done actually, right? So, it learns from the past, which we trained. We spent about 3 or 4 months training the model with some historic data set. Now we use that for predicting future outcomes. 2 things to keep in mind. We use certain statistical techniques, apply them to the historical data, and we built a model around it. This is the model that we currently use to predict all these future outcomes. We used a combination of generic data sets. It's not just one model. It's a multi-layered model. Actually, there are many layers to it that we use. We use a combination of a generic data set to learn from. That alone is not enough. We have integrated that with anti-Hindu lexicon. You will not see tweets criticizing Indian cricket or English cricket or basketball or something, because we eliminate them. There should be hate. That hate should be within a context actually, and the context should be anti-Hindu. So that's the lexicon, the grammar of hate that we have developed based on our own knowledge of Hinduism and being a Hindu too actually, right? So that you only recognize anti-Hindu hate sentiments. Accuracy of the result. It's another question that comes up all the time. It gets a bit trickier. Remember, it's a machine that actually flags the tweet. It's not us actually. So obviously there will be false positives in this result set. What we are currently actually doing to improve is, we see a number of false positives. We are undertaking certain initiatives to be able to improve the accuracy of it. On one hand, we do not have a data set to train on, a customized anti-Hindu data set. We don't have one actually, so we have to build one. So we are actually building it actually. As I said, I think we have about close to 200 to 230,000 tweets flagged since we launched the tool. So we'll be assessing the data set to see what improvements we can make based on what we see in the data set. That's one. Second thing is, we can look at certain model parameters. AI model has a lot of parameters. You can tune, tweak, so on and so forth. Perform a what-if analysis, which is a common financial what-if analysis, and implement appropriate changes to the model. These things we are in discussions more right now. We'll be implementing them in the next few weeks. One of the other things that we are thinking is maybe we should just ignore all the moderate tweets. Moderate tweets are so moderate, we should just ignore them for the time being. We only consider toxic perhaps, or maybe include even severe tweets. These are some of the considerations that we have not yet decided. We'll have to see how our analysis works out before we take a call, start improving the result. It's just 4 months, honestly, actually. We don't have that much data. to review. We probably need to wait for a few more months and then start implementing some of the improvement initiatives for the model. How can the tool help, right? So see, this tool it's a great tool for stakeholder engagement. One can use the statistics and the data behind it in multiple ways. One is to educate folks. Look, there are so many people who continue to refuse the realities of hindumisia or anti-Hindu hate. There are people who are simply unaware of it. They must be educated. That's why it's important. We start educating lawmakers, law enforcement officials, social media organizations, educational institutions, etc., to the realities of anti-Hindu sentiment. We will have the data set to go with it. Actually. Sorry. We'll have the data set to go with it, actually. And then we enable Hindus. Actually, Hindus are the ones, right, who are affected by this hate sentiment. We enable them, we empower them, we educate them by giving them the actual data set so that they can actually act as force multipliers. They can talk to social media companies. They can talk to lawmakers. They can talk to law enforcement officials to act. Simple. They can just sit in front of a computer, start a
Ramsundar ji, your voice is very feeble. So.
Oh, really? Oh. Is it okay now? It's probably
yes. It's
okay.
good.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah. So one thing that they do is they can mass report the tweets, the tweet handles, document and catalog the Twitter angles, find a platform where they can start exposing them. Actually, that's one thing that certainly they can do. Last but not the least, right, we can also engage many of the stakeholders within the dharmic world. We can engage with social media influencers, media personnel, think tanks, and public intellectuals to expose and raise awareness. These are some of the 3 ways we can actually put the tool to use. Having said that, see, we have been focusing on measuring and monitoring so far in the last 4 months. If you read our tagline, it's measure, monitor, and expose. We have been focusing on measuring and monitoring to make sure the data that we get is accurate, or to find ways to improve the outcome, improve the accuracy of our results. We haven't focused on exposing just yet. We are just getting started. In fact, we have started exposing at an aggregate level. We publish monthly reports that provide aggregate statistics, as well as point out key topics, events, or themes that kind of triggered that anti-Hindu hate. So far, we've been operating at a macro level, but that's very soon going to change. We are in discussions with some stakeholders to start exposing micro level information, if you will. I'm working with a few trustworthy stakeholders. They are my well-wishers as well. They are not just my supporters. They are actually my well-wishers as well. Besides interest they have shown by a few academic researchers to pursue research in the data set as well. So there are few other stakeholders that I'll be working going forward actually in this regard to start exposing the content that we have been gathering all along. We'll make progress on all of these fronts over a period of time. If you follow us in our handle, you'll see our updates going forward. Okay. There are benefits to this, right? Using this tool, there are multiple benefits. In fact, see, when we start engaging with our stakeholders with facts, that too, and that too collectively, we first of all help raise our own voice, and we'll be allowed to be heard. People can simply not refuse us. We cannot be simply refused. They cannot refuse the realities of anti-Hindu hate simply because we will show them the data set. Our concerns will get the required attention, right? It will get amplified naturally. Lawmakers, law enforcement officials, media outlets, so on and so forth. To this effect, as I said, we've been publishing monthly reports. We'll be expanding that very soon. Start exposing. That will draw further attention. It will help elevate our own concerns when there is collective effort from the dharmic world to start exposing the realities of anti-Hindu hate. It will only elevate our concerns. And finally, it will also help influence Hindu action. Hopefully, with our action, we'll start seeing its effect, not just on Twitter, but in other platforms as well. Even though we only focus on Twitter, but I'm sure there could be some parallel initiatives that could be launched to do something similar for Facebook or Instagram or other social media platforms as well. On Twitter, certainly we can use this tool to measure and monitor trends. Hopefully, in the long term, our goal is to see that this actually goes down and not go up, right? With our collective effort. That's essentially the idea behind this whole tool. With that, Professor, I think I have come to the end of my talk. These are some of the things that I really wanted to share today. Hope you, found them to be informative. I want to thank Professor Ramesh Rao and Professor Nidhi for providing the platform to be able to talk about this tool. As I said, I just want to reiterate, we have been focusing on measuring and monitoring so far. We want to start exposing the content. To this effect, we are undertaking some initiatives in collaboration with some of my well-wishers. You will see updates in our social media handles in the next 2 weeks. I have put up my social media handles here. Do follow us for all exciting updates in the next few weeks or to few months. If you have any questions, do reach out to us through that email ID there. With that said, I come to the end of my talk for today. I hope it was informative for all of you. Over to you, Professor. Let me stop sharing my screen. Just over to you. I think it will probably start the Q&A session now, right?
Thank you so much, Ram. And I will just hand it over to Nidhi to see what questions there are for you, and then if there are any follow-ups, we will follow up.
Yes, thank you, Ramsundar ji, for taking us through the hindumisia.ai tool. I think it's very interesting because, as you said, for a long time, people have refused to accept Hinduphobia as something that's actually happening because we don't have the facts and data to back it up. But I think that is going to change with this tool. And I really like the fact that your goals with regard to monitoring, exposing, engaging are very clear. And once we know the nature of content that is being tweeted with regard to Hindu hatred, I think we can engage other stakeholders more convincingly. So there are some really interesting questions in the Q&A box, and I'll post these questions. I'll read out these questions and maybe we can have answers from you. And if there are follow-ups, as Professor Rao indicated, we can allow participants to unmute and engage in a conversation. So the first question is by Indrani ji. She's asking if the term Hindu, can there be some identification of the term Hindu with other terms like Sanatan Dharma? And is the tool at a stage where it can differentiate between Sanatan Dharma and also other Indic and Dharmic traditions like Buddhism and Jainism?
Okay. See, the tool uses what is called as a context-based model. There is a technique called context. That's why it's not word-based. There is no word given to it that actually tells you this is what it is. But having said that, we do differentiate it. We do clearly demarcate between various traditions. We are only interested in what is anti-Hindu hate. If that Hindu hate is spewed on Buddhism or some other dharmic religion, I don't believe we actually track it. I have actually not seen any, I've been looking at the data set for the last 3 or 4 months, so I have not seen anything along those lines. But I will take this question as a suggestion too, actually, because I do know Indrani. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. And, I will take this as a suggestion to go see whether I could experiment with some changes to see if I can get some additional information. But right now, we do clearly differentiate. We only focus on anti-Hindu hate.
Right, thank you. So Deblina Biswas's question, I would like to take up next. So she's posing two questions. One is, will this tool expand to cover other languages or text beyond platforms like Twitter in the future? And number two, are there any plans to expand the tracking to images or videos? So just adding to Deblina ji's question, even I was interested in understanding why Twitter was chosen as a platform for this tool. Of course, we know that Twitter has a particular nature, there's a particular discourse on Twitter regarding Hindu hate. But are there any specific reasons that you would like to offer for choosing Twitter as a platform for this model, for experimenting and coming out with this model?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a very good question from Deblina. See, I am not an AI researcher. I am an AI end user. I'm a layman as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. So as a layman, what I wanted to do was to get to the business end of the problem quickly. Some of the second question about plans to expand the tracking to images or videos, those things are research areas. It will take a long time for us to be able to, put up a model and come to the business end of the problem, which is providing a solution and having an impact. That's what I mean by business end of the problem, actually. Twitter offered me the quickest path because it's only text-based. There are no videos, there are no images, actually. I do not know of a model I do not know of a visual AI model that will detect anti-Hindu hate in an image. I do not know of it. I do understand some aspects of AI. As I said, I'm an AI layman. I'm not an AI researcher. It's quite complex. You get into complexities. When things are complex, you need to spend more time doing research. And with other commitments in our life, I thought it would just take me more time to produce an impact. And I wanted to get to my path quickly, actually. So that's the reason why I chose Twitter. We could do even FB. FB can be easily, this can be extended to FB. I believe this can be extended to even other languages as well. It's just the fact that, just one or two of us, we all have deficiencies in our own knowing of languages. I only know 2 languages, actually. So, we need more people to support us. The effort will take a lot more time. I'm not sure what the impact is going to be. I don't know how long it's going to take. That's why. So quicker path to realizing a solution, and wherein we can actually start our journey towards creating an impact. It will offer me the quickest path. That's the reason why I chose Twitter and limited it to English, not to do images and videos, so on and so forth. But there are opportunities available, no doubt about it, for folks to pick up.
Yes, absolutely, because I think Instagram is quickly emerging as a platform for another kind of anti-Hindu hate. And Instagram as a platform, since it engages and appeals to young users, maybe in the future course of action that you are adopting, you could look at visual content that promotes and normalizes and legitimizes anti-Hindu hate.
It will be an interesting work. And I've been asked this question by many people. I've had discussions with a bunch of students as well before in the last 3-4 months. They have asked me, but these are areas that people can certainly focus on. It's quite inquisitive. I'm kind of, that in the back of my mind, I still have that question. Maybe should I do Instagram? But it takes time. No? There's only so much bandwidth is available.
Right.
What can we focus on? You can't just focus on too many things, actually. That's why I've tied my hands and not looking at Instagram, but it's a very, very interesting use case. There is no doubt about it. A lot of people have told me. I agree with you.
Yes, I think it's a good beginning with Twitter, which can be then capitalized and taken ahead to other platforms. So we'll take Diksha Yadav's question next. She's saying, since there is no human involvement in the tweets being flagged, are all the tweets flagged stored? And what happens in case of original tweets that are deleted? And what if people want to access the data to check and intent of the tweet for research work? So You just mentioned researchers and academics as important stakeholders in the process, and it would really be interesting for us to look at a full year of reports that are generated using this tool. So if there are people interested in researching on this tool and writing papers and making academic presentations, what kind of access would you offer to them?
We can give them full access to the data set.
Okay.
I do know, I don't want to name that person. One professor has already offered, asked me for a data set to do research next year in 2023. So I don't want to name that person, but one person has already asked for it. Yeah, we will give access. Absolutely no doubt about it, actually. So, but keep in mind, the reason why we have not opened it up yet is, we are still in kind of pilot mode where we are still trying to figure out how to improve the accuracy of the model. As I said, there are false positives. I've been looking at the data set very seriously the last 1 or 2 months. I have an approach to fix that actually. At the end of the day, it cannot be accurate. You will still see false positives. Even if I improve the model, even if I improve the accuracy of the model, it's never going to be 100%. That's the nature of AI and NLP. So we'll make some improvements. And then for researchers who are interested in writing research reports or whatnot about anti-Hindu hate, we'll be glad to provision access to the data set.
Yes, and I think Diksha is also wanting your response on tweets that are deleted.
Okay, see, tweets that we are deleted, we just delete it. We don't, because we don't find them to be relevant actually. So they are just off. We don't want to store them. See, I don't have a supercomputer. I don't have a data center to that's actually running this. We are just running it in our own house actually. So it's a small machine that we have. We run it actually. So we don't want to store too much of garbage. If we think it's actually not anti-Hindu, we just throw it away. We only store tweets that are either unprocessed or which is waiting to be processed, or which is flagged as anti-Hindu for our own use. That's how it is. We just delete them.
Yeah. Ram, I think there is another aspect to that question, and that is as basically what the Hindumisia site is doing is kind of tracking this, but there is no way that it allows researchers maybe to go back and take a look at the tweets. And that's one part. The second part is there are people who will post a hateful tweet and then delete it. So what about that? And we may have tracked it as a hateful tweet, and then that person has deleted it. So it's kind of an interesting kind of a challenge, I think, if we are not storing all of that data.
Yes. So just to add to what Professor Rao is saying, I think we can recall the tweet by Furqan Khan, who is NPR's producer based in India, and she was tweeting some anti-Hindu stuff, and when it was called out, she deleted that tweet. But if you see a lot of articles on anti-Hindu hate on social media, that example is repeatedly cited. So could there be possibilities of collaboration with people who are storing such tweets independently? For example, if I have a database of screenshots, I have worked to save these tweets, but now they're deleted from the platform. So how can that work?
Yeah. I mean, it's a question mark for me too. The reason is I was looking at the June data, and I found 1 or 2 handles. They have about 30, 40, perhaps even 50 hate tweets that the machine flagged. This is just one handle. The entire handle is not there. They are all Hindumisic. And I validated it actually. I went to the tweet to look, because I have it in my own Excel sheet, because I downloaded it into my Excel sheet. I don't go to Twitter to validate it. I just go to my tool gives it to me. I download it in my Excel. I just look at the tweet. It's clearly Hindumisic, but the whole handle is not there actually. Those things, we have the handle information. We have when it was tweeted, so on and so forth. Depends on what we want to pursue with it actually, right? If you want to write a research report, you already have that information. It's just not there in Twitter. You have, if you want to write about the nature of the tweet, You already have that information. You can certainly, people, researchers who are reviewing those tweets, you can review it, you can interpret it, and then you can discern and write about it. But if your objective is to get that handle suspended or whatnot, or the tweet deleted, that's already done. That we don't have to worry about it. But if your objective is to go and highlight or elevate our concerns, that information is not there on Twitter, but it's there with us. We anyway collect it, we store it. Unfortunately, if it's deleted from Twitter, there's nothing much we can do about it, because that's not within our control. We just have to engage with the right folks to be able to use it properly. Yeah, I see quite a lot, actually. A lot of it. A lot of it is probably deleted immediately.
Yes.
Quite a lot. One disadvantage, we don't store screenshots. It's just text. We don't store screenshots. We only store text. But the text is still there. The text is still there. We will have it. We'll have it. Researchers can use it further.
So Jay Gina is saying that this is an excellent initiative and it's great to see AI being put to such use. The question he's asking is, are there likely to be any credibility issues with respect to the validity of the statistics that are being produced or the underlying assumptions built into the AI model? And I think another connected question is about the sample selection from Bharathan. So I think we could take both these questions together. What about the sample selection, and what about the validity and reliability of the data that is being assessed by this model?
Okay. That's one of the reasons why we allowed end users to start submitting tweets. They can submit tweets and check for themselves what the model is all about. Because I understand the fact that, the model is not being made public. I'm not transparent about it. There's no doubt about it. We could do anything we want. There's no doubt about it. The question is valid. Credibility is something that they can certainly verify by submitting a tweet and finding out what that anti-Hindu intensity is. So as I said, the last 3 or 4 months, we have been focusing on measuring and monitoring the hate content, actually, right? So we are still in that phase. And we are putting in some manual processes to be able to validate and make public certain information. That's the reason why we have not published handles so far, because we are not sure whether they are accurate or not. Even though I see a lot of hate handles, we want to make sure it goes through a round of scanning and screening, validation before it's actually published out. So we are putting in certain processes in place that will hopefully make our results a bit more transparent, and hopefully it will help build credibility as we move forward. Right now, the monthly reports that I personally publish on a monthly basis are only at aggregate level. I don't give any handle information. That's precisely the reason, because we want to make sure the results are accurate. The way the results can be accurate is we have to improve the model. These are some of the initiatives that I'll be undertaking, so that we can help improve the accuracy of the model. Improving the accuracy of the model will help in building that credibility that's actually required. So right now, users can submit a tweet to the model, see for themselves what it is.
So has there been anybody who has questioned you on the model? Anybody from the other side who has said that, okay, what you're doing is probably not needed because there are Hinduphobia deniers all around us, and their discourse is in the mainstream. So have you encountered anybody like that?
Not on the other side, but there are some on our own side saying, why do we need to build it? The Abrahamic ideology, the scriptures are full of hate. Why do we have to measure it? We know hate is going to come. So our own folks have questioned it. I do know in few other groups that I am not part of. So people have, why do we need this tool? We already know the hate exists. Things like that, actually. So they have questioned. Others have not. Others, I think there are 1 or 2 folks who come to my timeline once in a while. They say, they still target me for being a Hindutva terrorist, blah, 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 all that stuff, passing fake news about Hinduphobia and hindumisia, so on and so forth. There are still people out there to negate it, but that's our goal, right? To negate them, actually. So if we show these results, so when we start publishing handles and publishing those hate tweets, I think that will change. And it's going to happen very soon.
So we'll take one question from Kaveri, who's a media student, and she's asking if you have any social media managing strategy, like are you planning to strategize to increase the followers that this tool has? And she's saying that this tool can become more popular, become more appealing to young people. So what are your future goals with regard to that? And I think she's also mentioned Instagram, because I think young people prefer being on Instagram and they're more engaged with content on Instagram.
That's true. I'm limited by my bandwidth, and as well as by my focus. Everything. People who are involved in this, just two of us, we have our day jobs. So unfortunately, we can't focus too much on this. We are just stretched doing other Indic and dharmic activities as well. So in terms of our social media approach, again, as I said, it's not a corporate approach. I'm not running a corporate organization. So you won't have the benefits of a corporate strength, with many functions contributing to the growth of this. Actually, it's not there actually. So it's just one or two of us trying to promote this tool. Having said that, I am part of a dharmic ecosystem. So I reached out to a number of folks who can help me out in this regard, and they are trying to do it actually. These things are going to take some time. It's new, right? It's completely new. It's a completely new way of looking at detecting anti-Hindu hate. So it takes some time to educate those people as well. You can't expect people to start promoting me if they don't understand what the solution is all about. I have to help them understand what this is, build credibility. So some people have asked me, they will support, provided they understand the basis of what I'm doing. So I am in touch with several of them today. So they will also help me promote this tool. So that would be my social media approach. Having said that, it's not a company. I'm not running a corporate organization. This is a volunteer effort. There is only so much one can do being a volunteer. That's the unfortunate part. But I'm excited doing what I'm doing. I know I have limited time doing this, but I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I hope I have answered and satisfied that question.
Yes.
I'm sorry. The question actually. Yeah.
No, I just want to check with Professor Rao if we have time for 2 to 3 more questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we can spend another 10 minutes before we wrap this up.
Yes, great. So I think Jayji has posted a clarification. His question with regard to credibility was not to do with probably contentions from within Hindu society, but his question is more from an objective scientific level perspective. He's asking about objectivity, scientific validity, and how you have plans to rebut anybody who says that this is not being done scientifically and objectively. I think that's what he was asking.
I'll be very modest in my response. I would like to believe I'm not looking for any scientific validity from anybody else. I'm not looking for it. I don't need anybody else to come and certify that this is scientific and this is valid. Having said that, if I have to build up credibility for this tool, only the results will have to show. I can give access to the tool, which is what I'm actually doing with few people. We'll be starting to expose those handles and tweets. The results will speak for itself, actually. That's all to it. I'm not looking for any validation from some other body saying, oh, I've did this. I'm not looking for it at all. I'm not promoting my tool for any validation. I think I would like the results to actually speak up. And when we start exposing the content, I think those will show. It's just a matter of time before we start doing that.
Yeah, and let me add a quick note here. Ram, we have talked, and you have talked about false positives and having to maybe get people to kind of monitor this on a kind of a daily basis. So eliminate those false positives. And I think that may also answer Jay's question here about in terms of validity, that we do have plans to kind of engage, hire young people, train them, and ensure that basically cleaning up the data, and therefore the validity and reliability questions should be answered. But like in any social scientific endeavor, and like this one, there will always be scope to fine tune, I think. But that indeed, surely, like any kind of a measuring tool, there will be questions about reliability and validity.
Definitely, it will always be there. Actually, we just improve. As I said, during the talk, I said we'll be looking at improving the model performance. It can never be perfect. It can never be perfect. There are a lot of AI. See, data science has its own way of explaining the accuracy. There are a lot of statistics. I didn't even talk about any of them. It's too technical actually. So there are a lot of other statistics. So when time comes, I'll start publishing them so people know what's the accuracy rate or what's the recall. It's called accuracy, recall, precision. There are a bunch of statistics available. So I didn't deliberately talk about any of it, but at some point in time this year, I'll probably publish it saying, look, this is what we are. That would probably answer some of the questions for validity and credibility.
Right. So there's another question where Bharatan is asking if you have any plans to monitor anti-Muslim hate, just to compare it with the extent of Hindu hate and call the bluff of the liberal media or mafia. Any plans to compare how other communities are subjected to it, or to show, to prove that?
Yeah, my only focus is anti-Hindu, not anti-Muslim. No, I don't want to focus on Islamophobia, actually.
Okay. We'll take another question by Satendra. He says it's an excellent piece of task and information. And I think Professor Rao can also add his response to this question. He's asking if it is possible to have a kind of statistics or an engine about published articles by Hinduphobic academicians, including their affiliations around the world. So I assume he's inquiring if there's a possibility to build a kind of a database to identify Hinduphobic media people, Hinduphobic academicians around the world, and expose their affiliations to the larger audience.
Is it for me or?
Any of you, but yeah, I think Professor Rao can answer it.
Yeah, I think maybe what is being asked is some kind of network analysis here. And I believe there are some people, I know the Disinfo Labs people have done some of that. I am not trained, I'm not skilled enough in that area to follow up. But I don't know, Ram, if you have done network analysis, and maybe if this tool can be expanded to also do that.
It's in our pipeline. That's all I can tell you, sir. Yes, it's in our pipeline to do it. If it's about network analysis, it's in our pipeline. But first, we have to make sure our base is sitting on a solid foundation, right? So we have to make sure the model is good, actually. So we're focusing on improving the accuracy of the model, and then we'll build something on top of it, actually. I think it's probably in our pipeline.
Yeah, I think this is basically, who is retweeting, using those kinds of, yeah.
I think we can take one last question that's more from a technical perspective. So AS is asking, speaking of computer resources, could this tool be set up in a distributed fashion such that other folks could run agents similar to, say, SETI at home or folding at home? So I'm sure, being a tech person, you kind of understand what he's trying to ask. And he's saying many of us here are tech workers. So how can we help? How can we pitch in?
Okay, I am a techie person, but I'm not that techie to understand. I think I understand where he's coming from. I don't know whether I have an answer. So I'm afraid, I may have to give this answer offline. I don't think we have the person's email. If you can type your, I just know you off as AS actually. Sorry, I don't know your full name. So if you can type your email, sir or madam, I will get back with my techie and then just give you a response. I'm not sure if I'm the right person to respond right now. I don't have an answer for it.
We've taken a screenshot of this question. Maybe we can share it with you later.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So
the person can send us email, his or her email, and I can certainly respond.
So there are a couple of more questions in the Q&A box, but I think it's time to wrap up this session. But before we wrap up, all our participants can please take note of the India Facts website and the hindumisia.ai website. Both these links have been shared with you in the chat box, so you may just check them out, look at what India Facts is publishing, and of course, explore in detail the kind of work that Ramsundar ji is doing through this tool.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nidhi. And of course, thank you very much, Ram, for this very interesting, informative, insightful presentation. I think there are both the kind of tech-related issues, where questions, and people who do have the resources and training may want to pitch in and help, and that is going to be exciting. And in terms of the kind of social science, angle, hopefully we will be able to start working with interested academics to start using the data and start writing about this. And this is where, and hopefully, just even today's presentation, let us see if we can get it transcribed, because it should also be available in text. And hopefully India Facts can then, edit and publish this as maybe a 2 or 3 part series article that will make this again available in text form. Your explanation of this and your presentation of this. With that said, I would like to thank all of the attendees today for being here. I know that it has been interesting, but I hope that you can, in your own way, leverage this to do the good work that Ram has started. I would like to thank our Hyderabad team, Ram Prasad ji and Srinivas Garu for their technical help. And of course, thank you, Nidhi, for working with me in making sure that this presentation was accessible to everyone. And once again, from India Facts, my thanks for your participation. And Ramsundar, once again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for supporting me.
Thank you, Ramsundar ji, and we all hope to stay connected with you for more such conversations.
Definitely.
Thank you, Professor Rao.
Thank you.